Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I turned my hearing aids off. So I was thinking this morning is the day that I go get my Doppler at 12:30. Well, I'll be leaving at 12 and get there. And I was thinking of the verse that the Lord gave me many, many years ago when I was in California and so alone and so scared and didn't know what I was going to do. And we get scared at times. I mean, we're human. We get afraid, we get concerned. But I had found that verse in the Bible. The Lord, it's in Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. So when I get in problems like that where I think, what am I going to do next? He's not going to leave me nor forsake me. He will hold my hand and go with me. So he's going with me today, and I'm not discouraged, and I'm not forsaken. When I was out there in California and Buddy was overseas and I was going to have twins, I felt so forsaken. And that verse did me so much good. And I slept with my Bible, which I still have. And I just stood on the Word of God. I saw a preacher one time, he says, I stand on the Word. And he took his Bible and put it on the floor and stood on it. Well, I stand by the Word. I was watching that gentleman, let's see, Old Me Living Better. And he's interesting. And he has so many ways to get things done. And I was thinking this morning, he had a plan. And it worked out for him real good. So if you want to, this is completely off the subject, but I live in the day. Really, we should just live in the day because you can't live tomorrow. Yesterday's gone. So I live in the day. And that's what we need to learn to do. So this morning I was going around and thinking about what I've got to do today. And that song came to me. I've got confidence. God's going to see me through. No matter what the world may say, God's going to make a way. Now, when my kids was going to church camp over in Louisville, Kentucky at Crestwood, the Assembly of God church camp that they had for kids every year, there was an evangelist there, and that was his theme. God's going to make a way. And those kids sang it, and they came home singing that all the time, and I learned to sing it myself. God's going to make a way. I've got confidence, no matter what the world may say. My God's gonna make a way. And he always does. James and I were talking this morning how God has blessed us in our life, and he has fought so many battles and won a lot of them, because it seems like the Lord really, if you trust him, he really does go before you and make those crooked places straight. I've seen it happen so many times. So when I get to feeling like God might be 1,000 miles away or even more, then I remember, because we bring back to our remembrance the good things that God has done for us in the past and the things that he's still doing every day. We're breathing. I'm 91 years old and I feel good. And yesterday, I tell you what, it was a strange day. I wasn't that tired. But around 12 o'clock, we had lunch, and I just laid down to take a little nap, and I didn't wake up for 2 hours. And I felt so rested when I got done. And I thought, well, that's wonderful. I don't ever get a nap. Usually 30 minutes is all I can get a nap. Now, James can take a long nap for an hour, hour and a half. I don't do that. So last night we went on home, and I had made that big pot of smoked sausage and cabbage and potatoes and carrots that Tammy gave me the recipe, and it was so good. So we had some of that around 5 o'clock. And about 6 o'clock, I said, you know what? I'm tired again. I'm so sleepy again. So I went to bed to just lay down and take a little nap. I woke up at 8 o'clock. I couldn't believe it. Evidently, when you get older like this, your body gets tired, and you don't hardly realize it because you keep pushing. So I woke up at 8 o'clock and I felt good. And I told James, I said, that was the longest little half-hour nap I ever took. I said, no, again, I did it 2 times in one day. And I felt great. So I got up and watched TV and looked at all my comments and tried to answer all of them. And I hadn't answered them all, but I answered that one about Turkey Creek. And that Farron Scott, who makes comments all the time, he said he knows right where Turkey Creek is. It's just right up the road from him. And that was the church where we held the revival. And I told Farron, I'll never forget it, because that little church was small. The pastor was very dedicated, and we just had a nice little revival down there in the mountains and those roads, honey. When you're trying to pull a big old long fifth wheel through those Tennessee mountain woods, the roads are so narrow and so curvy, you almost meet yourself coming back. But that preacher, after revival was over, we was standing out in the yard. It was pretty good weather. And he said, well, you know, I was going to give you $300. But, and he started to hand us $200, his payday. And I said, well, what made you change your mind? He said, I'll come to think of it, I'm going to give you $300. Well, see, we need gas money. Mainly all we needed when we traveled was gas money, because we had our fifth wheel, and we always had food. And I sold hair bows, and he sold cassettes, Buddy did, and we had money for groceries, but gas money was what. That truck we had got 6 miles to the gallon. And we went to one church where they said, we're going to fix that truck. We're going to go through it till you can get 7 miles to the gallon. We're going to tune it up. And they put it in the garage with their favorite mechanic, and he tuned it up. It just had everything new. Wires, plugs, what all it needed. It ran like a top. But guess what? It still got 6 miles to the gallon, but it ran good. But he tried, so they tried. But it was a big old truck, because we had to have it was a dually, and I could drive that thing to yard sales, and I would. And one time I went to this yard sale. We was at a church, and Buddy would get, we had that 45-foot fifth wheel. We'd pull in it that Pat Day gave us, which you can look at my other videos, know what happened on that. And I went up this street, and it happened to be a dead end. It must have took me 20 minutes to get that dually turned around, because there was no turnaround. It was just a street, a regular street. Cars could park on the side. I went to the end. I wiggled that thing back and forth probably 20 minutes to get it. I began to wonder if I was going to have to back down that street for a block or two. Well, a block anyway. I'm exaggerating. I get carried away. Don't we all get carried away sometimes? Yes, we do. And I don't know. Yesterday, I was having a good time talking about God only knows what, because I never know what I'm going to talk about. But it was going good, and all of a sudden, a message come in at the top of my iPad. And don't you love this fireplace? I tell you what, I love these scenes. I had one yesterday that I wanted to go sit on the log, but I probably would have fell off, but it was so beautiful. There's a fireplace and the rocking chair and the rug, and it looks like it's going to rain outside. I enjoy spring. It disappeared on us here. Spring was here. All the redbuds were blooming, and they are, and the dogwoods are blooming, but it's turned cold again. It was 32 degrees this morning, and I've got to go get that Doppler, and that's in the back of my mind, but I'm not really concerned about it, because my leg is well. What are they going to say? I'll let you know later, because I'm going to go ahead and have it done. And Christopher, that new buddy that I had talked to, texting back and forth, and he said he works in health. He said it won't amount to a hill of beans, more or less. He didn't use those words. I'm the one that uses those kind of words. He said it won't be a problem at all. There's nothing. And I had researched that already. I knew that it wouldn't be painful or anything. It's like when they run a thing for see your little babies in your tummy. Then it's just like a little X-ray. It won't do any trouble. So, but it isn't hurting me in the least. My other leg don't hurt me. They wanted to do both of them, and I said nope, just the one. The other leg don't give me one iota of trouble. So they're just going to do the one leg, and I'm supposed to be there at 12:30, but I'm going early, and they wanted me to fill all that out online. They said, or come 15 minutes early and do it in the office. I'm going 15 minutes early and do it in the office. I prefer black and white. I'm not good at doing, okay, so I can do YouTube, but I'm not real techie. I forget when they want to know your birthday, do you put the day first, the month first, or what? And I was going to have to Google it. You know, they want your birthday and all that stuff. And I said, oh, heck, I'll just do it in the office. No problem. So yesterday I was making my video, as I said, and I was going right along. And so I reached up because when my kids were chatting and accidentally turned it off. So I said, oh, well, I talked long enough anyway. I said, I'll just upload that and let her go. No sense in getting excited about it. I said enough, that's for sure. I get started, I don't know what I'm going to say next. I used to tell about all the miracles, but really, every day is a miracle. When you get to be 91 and you feel good and you're hungry, which I was this morning, and you have an appetite and you have not gained a whole lot of weight and got overweight, you're blessed. You really are. So I am blessed, and it's a miracle that God keeps me here to talk to y'all. But I want to tell you about the goodness of God and how He loves you and how He loved you enough that He wants us all in heaven with Him. He enjoys us. I think our Lord has got a great sense. God's got a great sense of humor. He's got to have, if being He gave us a good sense of humor, and we can laugh about the silliest things sometimes. And I just chuckle at some of these comments that I get sometimes, because some of y'all are really give some good comments, and I appreciate you very much. And I like to read them. And Grandma Pitty Pat, I call her Grandma Pitty, Chit Chat with Granny Pat is doing real good. She was cooking yesterday. I don't think I'm up to cooking. Forget it. Nah, I might one day, who knows. See, the thing of it is, women can change their mind instantly, right away. Now, I have, you know, we get under tornado watches ever so often here. And I had never had a basement. Always, when we had tornado watches, I went and got in the bathtub, like here. Or years ago, I used to go next door and get in the basement. That was when Flory and Alan was speaking to me. We had our problems. They wanted the driveway, and you can't split the driveway. They wanted the driveway to be all theirs. But we were friends for a lot of years, and I babysit her little girl. So anyway, we would go over, me and the kids. Buddy was usually working, and we'd go, or GE or someplace, and we'd go get in their basement. And I'm telling you what, when it would come a storm, thunder and lightning under tornado watch, they never hit right here. But they did hit out in the country a lot of times, and one town was practically wiped out in Palmyra, one block, took the houses right off the foundation. Gone. Nobody was killed, though, because I don't know what happened, that nobody was killed. That was a few years ago. And then back in 1974, we had them everywhere, over in Kentucky, right across the river, Cherokee Park. A lot of the big trees was taken. Up in Borden, Indiana, right on the hills and stuff, the trees were just flattened, taken. Nobody was killed. So we was blessed, but we used to get in the bathtub or go over to the house next door, and we'd go in their basement. And I tell you what, it had so many leaks in it that you had to sit with your feet up, because it was like a creek going through there. They didn't have a sump pump or anything like that. That's been years ago. I think years ago people didn't know what a sump pump was. They had the drain in their floor, and the water would go to the drain and to the ditch out front. And that's where the water was going, like a creek. And then they built these apartments next to us, and I used to think they had basements over there, and I thought, well, I could go over there, but I just end up in the bathtub. I know one time we was under, and my daughter had moved into the project. Her husband had went to prison, and she took the girls, her two girls, and moved to the project because she moved in with me, and we could not make it together. No, you cannot hardly live with a daughter that is as bossy as you are, and she is. I call her the bossy one. She still is. Now, Mom, you're going to do it this way. I don't pay her no attention anymore. I'm older. But anyway, she moved to the project, and tornado watches came, and she told me, she said, she had those two little girls. She said she grabbed the Bible, threw it in the closet, and shoved them in the closet, and they all hovered there in the closet. Her two little girls and the Bible. She knew where to turn to, God and His Word. And there she was. She told me about it. She said, Mom, I threw that Bible right in there with us, the Word of God, and my two girls. And we just stayed in there till the sirens went on. You know, it was real scary. I was probably over here at my house in the bathtub. Well, that's the only place. It's in the center of the house, and you just get in the bathtub. And you know, that does work. I have seen people say, and we got in the bathtub, and the roof went right off their head. The bathtub was still there, and they were still there. So I guess it works. Anyhow, we finally got, now back to what I was going to tell you. So over where James moved to and bought us a house in town, which I just love because I would never stay up. People say, why y'all got two houses? Well, because when I married him, he was working in town. He was gone all day long, and that house was like 4 miles out in the country. And you think I'm going to sit there all day long by myself and the cats? Nope. I told him, I said, you know, I have a house in town not far from the Walmart. Fact is, they built that Walmart just for me. I really feel like, I mean, it's like 4 blocks down the road, and there's an Aldi's right past that, and there was a Kroger, but they closed it and moved a bigger one over on Charleston Road, which isn't that far, and I got a Myers. I said, I can't sit there. So for several years after we got married, I just came to town. I said, I got the funds to keep my own place, Mr. Blair. You won't have to pay for it. You won't have to worry about it. You take care of your house, I'll take care of mine. And he says, well, why do you need it? I said, it's my office. I pay my bills from there. And I do. Really not anymore. The bank takes care of paying my light bill, my sewer bill, my water bill, and all that. But I said, I pay my bills from there. But anyway, and sometimes I used to write checks, but not anymore. They just deduct it from my account, and I don't even have to worry about it. So I said, I can stay in town. And then, don't you know, what happened then was he had an office downtown right by the police station, right across from the library, where I first saw him years ago. Didn't know who he was. He had this Cadillac convertible, white, with bullhorns on the front of it. And I saw him come in, and I went to the library every week or so because I'd get 7 or 8 books out because I always did a lot of reading, and I still do. I got a good book going right now. I keep a good book going all the time. And so I saw him coming out. I didn't know who he was. He had this office, houses we buy. I thought, that's the craziest thing I ever saw. It's backwards. Houses we buy? Why not say we buy houses? It gets more attention, he said, if you do it different. And that may be true. He does a lot of things different. He's a thinker, and he thinks out of the box, if you know what that means. And I do too. We agree about stuff like that you got to do things different sometimes. You can't just do the same old all the time. And I never dreamed I'd be on YouTube, kiddos. This is a shock. It is a shock, and that is not a lie. Who would have thought it? Not me. Well, anyhow, I'm still here. So, James, where was I? Oh, yeah. Let me see. I don't know. Does it really matter? Well, anyhow, Kim and tornadoes. So, Kim was in the closet and the tornado went off. So, James, I stayed up the hill for several years till about 2.5, 3 years ago. We started looking 2 years before he bought where we're at now. We'd look at houses. And I just stay at my house during the day, and he'd pick me up, and we'd go up the hill. Because it was up in the knobs, which if you look out the window, you could see New Albany and parts of Louisville and what all. But you know what I thought? Once you've seen it, you've seen it. It's like living in the Smokies. Once you've been there, you've been there. Yet we still like to go to the Smokies. We enjoyed the view for quite a few years, but I can live without it. So he bought a house in town. Finally, we looked at so many houses that would come up on the market. He said, we got another house we're going to go look at. He just likes to look at houses. He'll be going down the road and he'll say, look, there's another house for sale. And I'll tell him, watch the traffic. Do not be gawking. Please, look where you're going. I said, I can't look at the houses. I got to keep you in the road. Because he gets to gawking when he sees another for sale sign. That's not a bad looking little house. That's not a bad looking little. And then I see some and I said, that one needs a match struck to it and let it go away forever. He says, I like to get them old houses and fix them up and make them pretty. And we was talking to, so anyway, Kim, so he bought us a house. I know now what I'm talking about. The basement, we finally, on our new home, have a basement. So we set up, my brother let us have a queen-size bed with almost brand new, with the mattress and box springs and everything, and it's a lovely bed. And so we've spent a tornado watch just came not too long ago. And so we went down there and slept in that. And I tell you what, he's 6'3", and I've told you this before, and I'm 5'2", and he weighs 200 pounds, and I weigh 155 most of the time. I'm working on it all the time. But anyway, when he gets in that bed, I have this much room, look, and my hips are wider than that. And I'm practically out of the bed. So I told him, I said, the other day, I said to myself, how can I solve this problem? Because tornado watches are going to come every year, and now we got a basement, and I need a decent bed to sleep in. So I looked on Marketplace for a twin bed. I said, I'll get me a twin bed, and I'll put it beside that queen bed. He can sleep in the big bed, and I'll sleep in the little bed next to it. So I looked on Marketplace, and I found some, but they didn't want to deliver, and James don't want to fool with getting it because he thinks the bed's big enough. Wrong. He's wrong. Sometimes he ain't right. I'm right. So he said, well, you know, what about them kind, and I never thought of this. He said, what about them kind you get and they're in a tube and you have to open them up and then they get to be a mattress? I said, hallelujah. Now I remember we had this guy that if he needed an extra bed, he ordered it from Amazon and it come and it's all right. It's a foam mattress. So I went on Amazon and guess what? James says, well, I've got a twin bed frame. He's got everything in his storage buildings. He really does. I shouldn't tell everybody, but it's a fact, Jack. He's got all kinds of stuff. If I can say, you know, I need this. He said, I think I got one of them, if I can find it. I said, finding it is the thing, and that is true. But he said, I'm pretty sure so I said, honey, I'm ordering me one. He said, okay. And I said, I appreciate you mentioning that to me about you could get one that's all the foam mattress. I had forgot all about them. You can have it delivered to your door. I love Amazon. So guess what? I looked on there, and they're not that expensive, which shocked to me. I mean, you know, for $100, where the ones that we bought to go in our house run like $600, and it's 8 inches thick, and it's foam, and it's medium firm, which I prefer. So I ordered it, and it's delivered. Well, it hasn't made it to be let out yet, but he's going to get his men. They're back at work now, and I want you to know that Gary is doing very much better. Thank you for your prayers and for the prayers for my leg. I do believe God has healed it, and we'll find out later. What time is it? It's only 40 minutes after 9, so I still got plenty of time to chit-chat, just like Granny Pat, whom I love. She's doing so good. That girl is something. I call her girl because she's not as old as I am. I got her beat. Anyway, she's a sweet girl, and she wears the prettiest earrings. I kind of get stuck with my pearl earrings because I like pearls. But anyway, that's in the basement, and he may get it set up today. We don't see any bad weather in the future, but the flooding here is terrible, terrible. People have died. The Ohio River is so high, and we have so many restaurants right along the Ohio River that this water goes into, and they have to shut down. So there is one of them that's famous that is, you know what they're doing? They fill their place up with fresh water so that when the water goes down, they don't have all that mud and dirt in their restaurant. It's a lot quicker cleanup. Isn't that something? And they showed pictures on the news a couple of days. They've been showing how they fill it up with fresh water and shut it up, and that water's in there, and the pressure, I guess, holds it in from outside and inside. Then they don't have that mess of muddy, muddy, nasty water. They've been excuse me. They've been showing a lot of pictures of the debris, and the water's up everywhere, and it has not went down yet. But I like my pictures behind me. It's so peaceful. Isn't that amazing? I, I, I was wanting a new background all the time because I kind of get tired of the same old thing. Just me. That's the way women are sometimes. We go to these yard sales, and they'll have what looks like brand new comforters, fans, bedspreads, dishes, and they say, well, I got tired of them, and maybe they only had them up 2 or 3 years, and they're like brand new. When Melissa, my granddaughter, sold her home and moved into her new home, and she needed some more things, and I just bought them at yard sales like new. I got her a set of dishes that would have cost, God only knows. Well, she looked it up, and they were real expensive for $5. I mean, everything, cups, saucers, plates, everything. It's amazing what you can find at yard sales. Oh my, how long have I been talking now? I'm not going to put my finger up there and stop it like I did yesterday, but them girls are not talking this morning for some reason. See, they chat, and we chat all the time on our chat thing on our iPads, and we keep in touch. One's in South Carolina, one's in New Jersey, and one is out New Salisbury, about 20 miles away, and that's where we'll be having Easter dinner. And it's coming up now. And so we'll go out there with her and enjoy the day with my family. And I'm getting to the place where I want to. So we always thank the Lord, for our food and for the get-together. It's a lot like Thanksgiving. We're just so thankful to be together and that everybody's all right. And so since Buddy went away, and if Mike Brown's not there, who is a chaplain in the service all those years, I thank the Lord. So I get the opportunity to thank God for all of his blessings at these dinners now. And so not too long ago, I said, James, would you ask the blessing? He's my husband. And he did it. And that was wonderful. That was great. He's kind of shy about stuff like that, but he did a good job. So only thing is, my son-in-law Bruce has not really received the Lord as yet. He's not a believer, and we've been praying for him for 25 years. And he's a Democrat. Bless his heart, I love him, and he's a Democrat. And they're different from us Republicans. They have a different view on a lot of things than we do, and I don't understand it. Because that's life. I'm not going to get into that. It's their choice. But the thing of it is, we love them for better or for worse. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. It's just like when you get married. You love them, they're your family. And Jesus loved us when we was worse, when we were yet sinners. Not all have sinned, the Bible says. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We all have made mistakes. We all have done things we shouldn't have done. Even me. I mean, I've done some things that I'm not real proud of. I really, when I was growing up, we went to a church where you didn't dance, you didn't sing. I mean, you didn't do the kind of music like some of the music they were having, and you didn't play cards, you didn't go to the movies, you didn't watch television. Well, a lot of that has changed for the better. God don't care if you dance, and he don't object to all the music. There's some nowadays that is pure sinful, that uses sinful words in the hip hop, but I don't listen to them, but I know that they use bad language. So we just try to please the Lord the best we know how. We do the best we can with what we got, and that's my motto. Do the best you can with what you got. Do your best, and God does the rest. And that's the way it works. You know, you sometimes have to take the first step, and then he takes care of it from there. So, been good talking to you. I get carried away sometimes. And see, and then I have this problem. What in the world am I going to title this? Don't ask me. James says, could we look up what any of your things? I said, no, some of them number them and stuff, but I've never done that. So it's just whatever happens, happens. I never planned this out. So it's in God's hands. And Christopher told me the other day, he said, you know, I had never seen you before till about a few months ago, and you just came up on my feed. He said, and I knew that that was the Lord. So you know what? God's big enough to handle it. If you need to see me, I'm praying that God will let me come up. And if you like me, and I'm going to tell you about Jesus and that he loves you, you just go ahead and watch some of them. You might learn something. Who knows? I don't know. I have been around the block a time or two, and I thank God for my experiences that I've had that has taught me a lot, but I don't have a lot of advice on how to start a YouTube channel like, oh me, let's see, old me living, I can't remember his title, but he's interesting. Old me living better. I think that's it. Look him up. He's good. And don't forget my friend Debbie, who changed her title too, and she's got us cliffhanging right now. She is something else. I really like her. She's got us cliffhanging on about her adoption of her girl, who is now 17 years old, and she changed her name to Kentucky Living with Debbie. That's it, I think. But it's a lot better than Senioritis, which had like 12 different people things going on. And so I've got a lot of favorites I like to watch. Don't forget 967 Andy. He does some funny stuff. He puts that one of them crazy hats on and sits around and talks. He's a hoot. I just love him. He stood up at our wedding, and that's been a long time ago now. James and I have been married. In December, it will be 16 years. You know, when I married him, I had met this woman at the Walmart, and she said, I just lost my husband. I said, she was an older lady, older than me, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, well, when I married him, I figured he'd only last maybe 10 years, and that's about right. So, you know, when I got married, I wondered, reckon how long I'll last, reckon how long James will last. I wonder. We don't know. It's in God's hands. Now my kids are talking. The little messages are coming in, but I'm not cutting me off till I get good and ready. And now I'm ready. So y'all walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I'll talk to you again. Safe trips wherever you're going. Me too. Bye-bye.